I'm rolling now.
And just like that, we're going.
Just like that. Like I said, it's been a while since I've done an episode, honestly. I don't think it was back in May was my last one. I've been taking it easy this summer.
Yeah.
Well, my girlfriend and I just bought a house.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Yes. And that's a little over a month ago we moved in. So
first home or?
Yeah, first house.
Big, yeah.
And I've called plumber twice already, so that's been fun.
Yep. Yeah.
But it's been a lot of adjusting to home life and taking it easy and projects and watching my money that was at a fun level all the way now at a sad level.
Yeah, that's what happens, man. Let's get used to it with the house, you know? Well, that's good. And it's right in, you said Rotterdam. So yeah. It's pretty cool, man.
In Schenectady, a lot of great stuff back there. Like we were just talking about, I don't think I've been up to past downtown Saratoga in probably like 10 years.
You know, it's tough. It's like, it's funny because there is like we had a lot of, you know, we definitely have a lot of weekend warriors that make the trek up from the direct capital region. But yeah, it's funny. Saratoga north up to, you know, kind of Lake George is probably where a lot of our like local weekday kind of client, you know, customers are hanging out at.
Yeah, a lot of people come up from Albany for the day, especially on weekends.
Can releases, stuff like that when we have. Yeah.
Well, I know that with track season kicking off, does that your crowd?
Well, that certainly brings a whole nother level of tourists and visitors to the area. So it's all good. Yeah,
definitely. You know, it's like we don't really know. I mean, we've been pretty flat out busy anyway. So I think what we're noticing now with track, you know, the 1 week it's been open now is like it's just a little bit different. You know, maybe some of the locals are maybe staying home a little bit and. You know, some of the people who are on like especially off track days or if they're not, you know, only going to track for a couple days coming up here for dinner once it closes or whatnot.
Yeah.
Or getting their beer because it's the nice thing about track, man. BYOB is kind of a wild phenomenon that place you can still bring as much alcohol as you want.
That's crazy. I mean, I've only ever actually gone like a handful of times and I've never won on a bet I've placed there. Never.
It's never won anything of substance. I'll say that. I haven't placed a lot of bets on horses. Horse racing isn't something I follow or would do unless I was actually at the track. But it's like embarrassing to say, yeah, I've never won on a bet I've placed there. Not even on a horse to win. Yeah.
I almost hit a trifecta once where my horses landed in second, third, and fourth. I'm like, you should all go to the glue factory. This is so close.
That's it.
But that seems like a good time to do an intro, actually. So welcome to episode 45 of Stories from a Bar. I, of course, am the host, Chris Osborne, and for this episode, I'm hanging out with Bert and Christian Weber, owners of one of my favorite breweries in the area, Common Roots Brewing. How are you guys doing today?
Oh, Chris, we're doing really well, man. It's good to get you up here and hanging out, having a beer midday.
Really?
Yeah,
there's not raining today. It's good.
Yeah, the weather is nice. The rain has stopped finally, and nothing wrong with some afternoon day drinking.
That's it. Anytime we have an ability to crack a beer before 5 at a brewery is always a good.
4 or 5. Wow, that's late.
Yeah, sometimes 5 p.m. comes a little earlier here. That's true. We have a creative meeting every Tuesday at 3:00 that we always have a beer at. So that's usually our
keeps the creative
keeps you going.
Yeah. It does help.
It does.
At least it feels like it helps.
It does. For sure.
At the time.
Absolutely.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out. Like I said, this is one of my favorite breweries in the area. Usually, whenever I go to like a beverage center, I'll generally try to grab something I haven't had before. And then you guys have so many beers usually there that I just grab one because I know I'll like that if I'm ever disappointed with the other one.
That's awesome. What is your local beverage center that you go to?
I go to Glenville Beverage a lot.
Yeah, sure.
Just outside in Glenville there,
yep.
Or even Uptown Beverage on Altamont Ave.
Yeah, both great spots.
Yeah. Both huge.
Both huge, great beer selection. Yeah, we love.
Uptown will deliver, so that's always nice.
Nice.
Still delivers. That's good.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to. I know the state had basically cut that off for breweries, right?
Yeah. They have, I don't know, the kind of the bev centers have a different license, you know, than everyone else, you know. So who knows how they're monitored. That's good.
Yeah, but I got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Like I said, you guys have a lot of beers out there. You've been around a while. You've gone through a lot the last couple of years.
Yes, we have. Yeah.
And we've got, of course, a couple beers here to talk about, 2 of which I actually haven't had. So I'm excited to try these. Actually, why don't you tell me a little bit about the lager that we have poured right here first?
Yeah, we'll start with that. We just, cheers, I guess. Right? Might as well do one of these here. Yeah, so lager is Common Roots Lager, which is the name as well as the style
Nice.
is kind of here's our kind of house lager. So it's kind of a German style house lager, and it's probably our third biggest volume beer that we produce,
Oh, really?
and certainly probably one of our biggest draft at the tap room beers that I think it pretty much competes with almost no one else as a sole brand.
The lager hasn't been around that long, has it?
So it's funny. It was actually a beer. We have other lager styles that we do. We have Ref Meth was a Pilsner that came out before the fire. Conrad's Lager came out or was about to come out that week of the fire.
Oh,
actually.
wow.
So when the brewery burned, it was actually sitting in a bright tank that as we had to sadly empty tanks. It was we all definitely had some cups of non-carbonated but still cold lager, and so it was quite a bit for us we kind of just put it on the back burner because we wanted to make sure we did it once we reopened again properly. We were pretty jazzed up about the style and wanted it, as brewers. Although we make a lot of IPA, and it's certainly, we distribute to something like 10 states now, and we're, throughout the state and heavy into cities and whatnot. But as much as we get excited, and we certainly like IPA, it's not something that I'm necessarily drinking all the time now. My taste buds, or maybe that's just because we're fortunate enough to work in an industry where, you do get to try a lot of stuff, but and also brew a lot of stuff. But, lager is a beer that we kind of wanted to have here, and a beer that we always could kind of as a converter too. We have a lot of people locally who maybe are more of the macro lager drinkers, and they've come in because they know our brand and they want to stop by, and this is definitely a great entry level to craft too.
It's nice. It's just a nice, clean tasting lager.
Yeah.
It's just like, here it is. Here's a lager. Here's a beer made for drinking.
It is, especially on a nice hot day like today.
Yep. Very crushable.
Yeah, for sure.
So how's summer been going for you guys? Busy?
I mean, we opened the tap room here May 3rd on-premise sale, and it's been a wild ride ever since. I mean, we've had a steady line of customers coming in, and it's been exciting for us because it's a new, having the full tap room operation in a restaurant has been kind of a new part for us. And, but the systems we had in place and the people and the food seems like it's been a really big hit for people coming to visit with us. So it's been really good. Very busy, but really good.
I know the pictures of the pizzas I've seen look delicious every time I see one of those.
Yeah, they are great, man. We have a great front of the house, back of the house staff, and they've just done an awesome job of, my father and I are certainly new to the food world, and it was a big undertaking, and it was part of the phase one of the expansion that we were just doing when we burned, was adding a restaurant on. We had food trucks that were here every day for multiple years prior to that. And it just seemed like, the logical next step for making sure the experience of coming to Conrad's was great. Being able to have, especially some food while you're consuming beverages.
Well, yeah, and I suspect that also kind of opens up your clientele so that, you can have people under 21 come here for an actual reason.
Yeah.
Sure.
Reason. Or people with families.
Yep,
yeah.
exactly.
Families, and it becomes a spot where you can hang out at too. You're not just coming for pre-dinner drinks on a Saturday night or whatnot. So, yeah, it's been fun. But when we opened this facility last year, basically right in the middle of the pandemic, we decided just to keep it to go. Even as regulations we kind of left the quarantine phase and they were a little more limited. We just decided from our standpoint, we were just gonna kind of keep it to go only and see how that goes. So when in this past May, when we opened it for on premise, it was pretty exciting because it was a lot of built up energy kind of waiting, both from the customer side as well as the staff side too. I mean, you come to work at a brewery, and I know that's why we wanted to, be in the industry ourselves, was because it's, breweries are fun spots to be at. They're community, they're communal, they're spots where people come to hang out and talk to each other. And to have to work in a facility that was quiet, it was kind of weird to not have that on premise, to not have people in the tap room looking in at the brewery. It's a little odd, so it was nice to finally
Especially
have
after that's what you've been used to for so long, I'm sure.
Exactly.
I have an office job, so I'm used to general quietness around me most of the time. But because I was an essential worker, it was weird, and I couldn't take most of my work home because a lot of it's classified. So it was we were working from home 2 days a week and then doing 20 hours off-site and the 20 hours on-site, so I was really trying to cram 40 hours worth of work into those 20 where I was actually at the office.
Oh, sure.
That was getting hectic.
Yeah.
And then other times, those 5-day weekends I miss.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But this place is absolutely beautiful. Like I said, it's the first time I've been to Glens Falls or past Saratoga in like a decade. Probably not since I've delivered flowers for Price Chopper years and years ago.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't get to see the original brewery before it burnt. I didn't make it to the temporary tap room either. And you guys built this right on top of where the original brewery was, right?
That's correct. Yeah, we put a lot of thought into the design, and now, as like Christian said, seeing people here enjoying it has been really very fulfilling to us. It it was ready last year, but it just kind of sat there, and it was a little eerie, honestly, and a little depressing for us. But now to see people enjoying it the way, because we did put a lot of thought into it, and see people enjoying it the way we thought they would, it's really been very cool.
Well, 2 questions I want to get out of the way just right off the bat. I'm sure you've been asked many times. Common Roots, where did the name come from, and who made your sweet logo?
Yeah. So,
For anyone that doesn't know.
So I guess we go back to the kind of original story. So, when I was in undergrad, I started volunteering at a brewery, and the guy was, it was called Squam Lakes Brewing, and he was not much older than I was, and he was kind of doing a nano brewery before nano breweries were really a thing. Yeah. And he was running like a 1-barrel system, and I was helping on bottling days and whatnot, and it was pretty cool. And eventually took on an apprenticeship program at a bigger brewery, and then became a brewer there and whatnot. And definitely realized that that was an industry that I wanted to be in. And at the time, I was home brewing, and my dad and I started home brewing together. But after graduate school, I still wasn't totally convinced that I was ready to leave what I'd been doing for 6 years in school to just start in the beer industry. So I left the beer world for quite a bit, and I ran an environmental nonprofit up in Lake Placid.
Oh, wow.
And my father was just kind of retiring from a full career of being a teacher. And we kind of had this, I was looking to realizing I wanted to go back into the beer industry and either work in a brewery or start my own. If I started my own, I'd need a business partner. And my dad was just getting ready to retire and kind of looking for something else to do himself. So we kind of developed this partnership, and we ended up purchasing what was the former facility that was on one of the properties that we're on now. And started Common Roots. And, from the day we decided to do it, we started thinking about names. And, we'd be like, so-and-so brewing company. And, we go and Google it, and it's freaking taken. You know what I mean? That happened. I can't imagine now. This is back in 2012. You know what I mean? So there was far less breweries that are even available now. And at one point, my mother, I think, came up with, what about Common Roots? And I think I was like, nope. I don't think so. I don't like it. And or at least didn't really resonate at that time. And the more we were kind of developing the business plan and talking about what was important to us and our ethos and our family roots and community and things that we really value and cherish, we kind of kept stumbling back to this name of Common Roots, and eventually became a little bit more meaningful. And I think that was kind of how
some logo ideas even
started.
And then a friend of the family, right?
Friend of family. We were talking a lot about like I see your tattoo there is
the Tree of Life.
Tree of Life, and kind of doing a play on that. And, we have a lot of like German heritage. My father's really the only sibling born in America. So we kind of had this like strong roots to like, Germany and like, there's a big, in Bavaria, there's a big,
the Bavarians,
big beer
was
culture.
An important part of my family growing up. So, but never having brewed beer really. I mean, but so the name resonated with us as we thought about it. And Common Roots Brewing Company spoke to us then, and especially when we started to relate it to the logo that we're kind of playing with. And then a family friend who was just getting into graphic design. Became like his first project.
Yeah, it really was. So. And we kind of sketched some stuff out. And he kind of took it and made it.
Not a bad first project.
No. Yeah. And his name's Cortland Brennan. He lives down in the city, or he's back up here a little bit now too. But yeah, he's a phenomenal graphic designer, and he's done quite a bit in like motion graphics now and things like that.
Wow.
We now have a full-time graphic designer that just works for us.
Yep.
Just giving them labels and content and stuff that we do. And Jessica Mead's responsible for everything that we we have now that's visually goes out to the public.
Shout out to her because the labels I love some of the labels, especially the super modern neon ones. Those are cool. I don't know. They're eye catching for one thing,
They
which
are,
is something
yeah.
you want.
Sure.
On top of the beer being good.
Yeah. I appreciate it. It's a good, like, kind of throwback, kind of like almost like Miami Vice kind of looking style.
Yeah, that's why actually when I redid the logo for the podcast, I wanted a neon type looking sign.
Yep.
So and I'm super happy with the way that came out. Funny enough, I think I was drinking a can of the patched ale.
Nice. Yep.
And when I was talking to the graphic designer, I sent her a picture of the can because I really like the color scheme. Like I'm kind of looking to play off blues or purples or yellows like this.
Nice. That's awesome. That's really cool to hear. Yeah.
But how big was your family then for you to be one of the only siblings born in America?
Well, my particular family I was the fourth child. But,
Okay.
So I had two brothers and a sister all born in Germany, and my parents immigrated here in 1950.
Oh,
Then I
wow.
was born in 54.
I didn't know because I noticed
So,
on the website talking
yeah.
about Brewing being in your roots. So
Yeah.
you were able to trace that back to like Germany, and that
Well,
was a big thing.
I mean that really refers to when I look at my Bavarian German heritage,
Ah,
I mean everything was revolved around beer, and the celebrations always had beer at them, and they took beer very seriously. I would say, not
Who would have thought?
Yeah,
Sure.
Germans and beer. I mean, it's but it's so that's what we. I mean, my family, my parents did not brew beer.
Okay.
But that part of the country of Germany is obviously known for some of the some great lagers and beers like that. So
My brother served in the Air Force. He spent maybe up to close to like 5 years living in Germany, and he sent
Yeah.
me these two really awesome steins.
Yeah.
One that's made out of like cement, one of like 1,000 or something, has the knight on top with his little blade, which I try not.
Nice.
But it got real flimsy, the top of the blade, so I try not to use it anymore, which is a
Sure,
little disappointing.
sure.
So it's kind of more of a decoration now. And he sent me this other one that's like a trick mug. Looks really like it has old painting on it and has holes all in it, so you have to hold it a certain way or it spills everywhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That
So you have to
is,
hold it left-handed. You got to cover this one particular hole and this other one with like your pinky.
Wow. That
Yeah.
would be I feel like that'd be a struggle the more I drink with it.
Oh yeah,
I would,
absolutely.
maybe
It's-
part of the design.
Yeah.
Yeah, potential to waste a lot of beer the
Yeah.
more you try to drink from it.
That's fair. That's funny.
So
though.
then, how did you get into actually wanting to brew and craft beer?
Well, I mean, Christian really was the we did home brewing together, but that is far fetched from something like we're doing right now. So, but his experience in commercial brewing, and then the idea we both visited breweries and craft breweries, and it just became an industry that really intrigued us, and we found a lot of camaraderie there. So, and when Christian came up with this idea, really. And at first, I was maybe a little bit, yeah, sure, I'd love to have a brewery. Like I didn't really take it that seriously. But then when I saw the passion in him and the commitment to this, and then we were obviously making, Christian in particular was really making some good beer. I mean, his home brewing and his the systems that he kind of jury rigged together in our house and in the college. I mean, there was some really good product coming out of there. So. I saw the passion. I saw he had the background now, and then and my wife was really our biggest cheerleader.
Truly was.
She
yeah.
said, as I
Awesome.
retired, she goes, well, why not? Let's try this. This sounds like something you guys would really be good at and you could enjoy.
So the first tap room opened in 2014?
2014.
So you
Yep,
guys-
we
it
bought
seems-
the building in February 6, 2014, and my father and I, with the help of some friends and family, got it open. We opened December 19th, 2014.
Wow. And that's really not even that long ago, certainly less than 10 years, but it feels like you guys have been around a lot longer.
Yeah, holy cow. Especially when you think about like some of the history of like, having a fire, all the expansions and buildings we've done, and then, having a fire and then temporary and then building this up. It does seem like it's been longer, but it's been a fast like 7-8 years now.
Yeah,
For sure.
You guys definitely made a name for yourself. You certainly cranked out a lot of beers. Like I said, when I go to the beverage center, I'm like, holy crap, I'm not sure. Like, I know I'm probably going to like all of these, but now there's like 7 of them. I'm like, which one do I want?
That's great. That's good. Well, they do a good job locally. We send a lot of beer out to the world now, but locally is really in the capital region with our our local distributor is really the biggest variety that stays, which we're always kind of proud of, to make sure we're always taking care of our our local community before we go send beer to some other state.
Do you guys remember the first beer you brewed together on that magic occasion?
I remember what the opening lineup was, but I think it was a kind of a Belgian pale ale.
Yeah.
Actually, that was the first beer we brewed.
Which is still a favorite of some people.
And we've had some other ones. One of the breweries I worked at the time made exclusively kind of Belgian beer. So it was like so it was definitely, we had a kind of a Belgian honey ale too, that was with some local honey, and then a dark beer that eventually became Shadow Figures, but it was like our house dark beer. And I just like, at one point, I think we wanted just to have like, here's a beer. It doesn't need to have like, here's our house dark beer.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be, what is it, a porter stout? It's like, no, man, this is just our house dark beer. And we also started doing we had a pretty big wild program from day one. So we had a lot of barrels. We were using a cool ship. We were doing a lot of mixed fermentation. And I could definitely say that like year one, opening up with a sour beer series, that was not even kettle sour, that was just mixed fermentation, was definitely new to the area, and there were a lot of people who maybe haven't even had craft beer yet, let alone started drinking some wild mixed fermentation. And that was maybe probably a pretty big change, especially in the capital region. And, now you go to any brewery and they have 3 or 4 fruited sours on draft, which is pretty awesome. But in 2014, 2015, that wasn't a thing yet.
No, I feel like they just kind of exploded once the first one was out there. Then they kind of like hard seltzers now. They're everywhere.
Yeah. They really are, aren't they?
You guys have a hard seltzer, right?
We do. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, I get it. I mean, it's like the brewer inside of me kind of cringes a little bit, because like I don't even want to make an IPA, to tell you the truth. Like I think about like us are like going back to that wild program, like the authenticity of it, the blending of barrels, using this cool ship that gets yeast just from our local environment, and then you on the polar opposite side is hard seltzer, you know what I mean, of like in terms of that. But yeah, we do have hard seltzer. We have a brand called Clearly Common that we kind of like stopped making, and we now have one called Unclearly Common, which is at least a little bit more authentic, where we're using real fruits and things and spices and herbs and things like that, where instead of just having like a straight up clear mango seltzer, now at least we're starting to have something like whatever runs on draft now is like a pineapple basil, and
delicious.
It is a good beer, and it's
but I really like that one. Yeah.
And a hard seltzer, it's low calorie too. It's gluten free. Our main reason for making it was when we were at the temporary tap room, we had a very limited license, and we weren't able to like purchase beers or ciders or not have a gluten free option. Yeah. So we're like, we can easily make a seltzer, and that was our kind of way of having something that's approachable and able for everyone to drink. So the brewer inside hates it. The business owner inside of me enjoys it, because you can crank them out pretty quick, and a lot of people like it. Yeah. And I don't even want to tell you how much it we sell, because it is embarrassing, because it's quite a bit. But
that's where some money's coming in from. You can't complain.
You can't complain. And it's, again, they're good. They are lower calorie, and like as someone who we like active lifestyles, and it's important to have community wellness, and a great craft beer can calorically be on the higher side sometimes. So the hard seltzers that are ours come in at just below 100 calories per 12-ounce serving. So that's something that there's something to be said about that too. If you're having a volume day, we'll say. It's they're definitely there.
So when you guys opened up in 2014, how were the early days to starting out? What were those days like for you?
They were a lot of work, honestly. We after the building was renovated and we started the day-to-day operations, it was really basically 2 or 3 of us working, in the brewery all day and then working the tap room at night. So they became kind of long days, but it was exciting to see the potential and how people started to respond to it. Not only the product, but the sense of community that we were starting to create here, which was really nice. So, those early days, they were hard, but there was a lot of fond memories of them. I mean, we worked physically much harder probably back then. And it was, the long days, but it was necessary, and I think it's worked out to our favor here.
No, it was. I mean, they were definitely long days. I think that's when we first bought the building, it was my brother-in-law and me and you, and we knocked the first that we closed on the property that morning, and that afternoon we were there like kicking a taking a wall down as like a ceremonial thing. And we probably took like 5 days off over the next 10 months to get us open. I remember we just kept thinking like, hey, we gotta open.
Yeah.
I think the thing that we didn't really, totally remember is like, from the day we opened, it was like, oh shit, that's like, now we got to do it now. And, there was, from day one, we didn't have enough capacity. We were doing 20 barrel batches, and we were very fortunate, but there was an enormous demand. And, there was also a lot of things that kind of worked in our favor too, which is probably just some great luck that we had. But there was like, the Beer Advocate gave us the cover story of their magazine. There was like New York Times an article. Mm-hmm. There were a lot of things that gave us kind of a lot of attention very early on, and also being a brewery that was doing some different styles that maybe weren't being done yet in upstate New York. And I think those all led into it, but I think we were like certainly naive to know how much extra work that we were going to have once we physically opened, because there were days we were brewing. We had kind of one guy helping out a little bit in the back. We'd double brew into a fermenter, bartend, and then we'd still, after the bar closed, we'd still be cleaning up the brewery and getting ready for the next day's brew. And some days then you're running out to do tastings and beer dinners and tap takeovers, because we're starting to build this brand and trying to get our name out there. And it was pretty chaotic, but it was energizing. It was fun because it was more people that started to kind of hear our name and try our beer and try up sour beer and, try these hops that you've never maybe had before. These are from the West Coast. These are from New Zealand, things that maybe weren't necessarily as readily available as they are today, was kind of was very energizing. And I think it kept our momentum going and allowed for us to kind of expand and want to expand as fast as we did.
Yeah. Wow. And then, of course, you guys are chugging along, making an awesome name for yourself, making great beer, and then the fire comes along. It's about 2.5 years ago now, I think, right? Back in 2019?
Yeah.
Yep.
March 25th.
How much of that night do you guys even remember anymore? Does it seem like probably still seems like it was just yesterday, right? Or has it kind of faded a little bit?
It's like there are very real memories still. Keith and our sales director and I were actually in Indiana the weekend. It happened on a Monday, and we got back to the state on Sunday, and we were at Uplands doing like a sour beer fest, and came back, and it was it was like 7:00 in the evening, and I was actually working late because I just hadn't been on my email in 4 days. So I was like going through the mound of emails that you when you're at another brewery drinking for a weekend, and we were going through like a cleaning regimen on our brew system, and there was so I kind of like I was going to be here, and we decided the tap room was going. It was like trivia night or something like that, and it was packed. It was like standing room only, and we ended up having a boiler kind of malfunction, and it kind of the chase that brings it up the stack up to the roof caught fire, and it actually happens to be right behind my office. So literally at my computer and started smelling something and turn around to see black smoke coming through the wall. Geez. So that, in some ways it was good because I was there and I was able to get everyone out very fast, and then called, my father, which I'm sure was a horrifying phone call for you to get, and then to come across the bridge from Glens Falls and see smoke coming out of here. Yeah. But I mean, the thing with that way, it's very real still, but looking back at everything we went through since then, it does seem like a whirlwind, right?
Oh, it really was. I mean, it was obviously a difficult night for us. Like Christian said, getting that phone call and coming across the bridge. Because when I left the brewery, it was probably a pretty great day. I mean, we had packaging. We had sent a bunch of beer out. The tap room was full. It was, to me, it was like a high five kind of day. Mm-hmm. And then get home within the hour, get that phone call. It's like, and then come across the bridge and just see this black smoke billowing, and all of a sudden, Route 9 is blocked off, and I'm like, oh my god. But nobody was hurt.
That's not clearly the most important part. Yeah. But I can't imagine getting that phone call in. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you'll see a giant smoke if something's on fire from the road. You're like, oh, I wonder what's going on. I've luckily never been a part of what was going on. Yeah. So it's hopefully not a feeling I have to experience. But yeah, that's intense.
It was intense, but you're right. It was very good that no one was hurt, no first responders were hurt, and it wasn't how we wanted to do anything. I mean, it was like in hindsight, there was a lot of our family's blood, sweat, and tears in that space. So it's something that we always kind of thought that would be there. And as beautiful as this facility is, and trust me, we're humbled to be walking through it. it is, going through old photos. We just launched our foundation, which we can talk about in a little bit, but I was going through some old photos to kind of try to we did this little video for it. And it is emotional to go and see the old space because it's so intimate to us. Like, we did all the work ourselves, and I have a 15-week-old son now, and I always expected to like walk around with him and show him everything that Opa and I did here, Grandpa and I did, and it's like gone, and although we built this theoretically, we had a great team. We had the ideas for it, but
wasn't the same
thing.
What's kind of funny, as I was just putting together some notes last night, I looked at the Google image. It's this place. It must have been just the start of construction.
Oh, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, because it was like just the frame.
Yeah,
like, that's kind of funny.
That is
knowing
funny.
what it looks like now.
It is pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the brewery burns, and that happened. And you know what?
But the community reaction to that was just blew us away. I mean, the
how
fire,
how overwhelming was that? Were you surprised at all?
We were surprised would be a very mild word. I mean, we were just looking at our phones that night, and things were already starting to happen, and it just blew us away. It was very humbling, honestly. So.
I've never really been on that side of supporting. We've been, one thing, and I think it was very. It's maybe why the
something like that was very
And
very
I think maybe why the community reacted the way it did too is it had always been in our ethos to be supporting the community. That was important to us. Mm-hmm. So from day one, even when it was like very lean, the business will say, we're robbing Peter to pay Paul to get more hops to make more beer or whatever it is. It was always important for us to be a sustainable member of the community and to sustain the community that we're a part of. So, there was always like dollar nights that we were doing in tap room and donating beer and donating gift baskets and stuff that, the little that we could do at the time. And that, of course, grew as we grew. So I think when we did burn, the community, people just, first of all, community is a big term too, because like locally, the capital region, upstate New York community did so much. And I think there was like over $70,000 that were generated in a very short amount of time for like a GoFundMe for our staff. And there are breweries in West Coast that were reaching out to us when they found out about it. So it was pretty wild. I'm getting a phone call. We got a phone call from Fred Matt from FX Matt Brewing, who's like the however many generation owner of. And he was like, it's really tough, and I know it's all, I know the position you're in right now. They had a big fire in 2008, and it was many millions of dollars in damage. And their facility is incredibly old too, so I can't imagine the family history. But he said, it's going to be the plus side now is you get to kind of start from scratch and do it the way you want to do it. And at the time, we know we both didn't want to hear that. We already missed the old facility, and we liked the idea of this kind of old farmhouse style that we just keep adding wings on it over time. And, looking back, you did get to make lemonade and lemons. Like, this is a beautiful purpose-built environment. It's a green building. There's, everything. It's turnkey, and everything's kind of built for efficiencies.
We wanted to create a destination brewery, and that's what this has become. But you're right. The old place had a lot of charm and history and blood, sweat, and tears in it. But, again, nobody got hurt, and we were able to rebuild. And
were you planning on trying to put like numerous expansions on the old place before the fire?
So we had purchased a property next to us, and we had just broken ground on a tap room expansion. And the plan was a kind of two-phase expansion. One was a tap room with a restaurant and some more space plus some private event space, and then the part two was take down the property next to us and add on more production. So it probably would have been, it definitely would have been the same size as this facility. It just would have looked a lot different, a lot different. Yeah. But
we'll talk more about this place in a second, because I want to open the give and take here, American Wild Ale, because is this relatively new?
So no, this was done, believe it or not, in the old facility. And it was... so this has been a beer we've done at least since 2018. I can tell you that because we actually poured it at one of my buddy's weddings, who came, and his family actually brewed it with us, the Buclick family, who own some distributors that we work with as well. But so this is a kettle sour. It's using our house bacteria, and but it's kind of our take on a gin and tonic. So it's brewed a little, has come some lime zest, as well as some juniper as well that we brew it with. and some tartness from the bacteria.
I like that. Yeah, that's definitely unique. It's not something I've really come across before.
Juniper is like, it's a polarizing flavor, right? I mean, people either kind of love or you hate it.
You like gin?
If you like gin, or if you go too much, it's a little too piney. But it was kind of meant to be like a good summer. Here's your gin and tonic.
Yeah,
it's
got just enough tartness, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Like some sours, I one and I'm done. That's for sure. I can't drink those. It's not like I can sit there and pound those. But so a little lighter on the tartness, I always enjoy. It makes it easier to drink and
sure.
Yeah.
But definitely a summertime beer. So we usually come out with it at the sometime in like end of May. Is kind of when and brew it once or twice throughout the summer, and that's kind of it. So,
nice.
So
how was the transition into the temporary tap room? I think you pointed out there was only the one thing outside that survived the fire, equipment-wise. Right?
Yeah. So there was some equipment. In fact, 3 tanks that you see downstairs. Mm-hmm. 2 of our 60-barrel fermenters and 1 60-barrel bright tank survived. The only thing that's still on the property that remains from the buildings that we took down to create kind of one big property is one of the outdoor grain silos. There's 3 silos outside, or 3 big tanks outside, and one of them, the one that has a logo on it, was the original one.
Wow.
So that it also gives a little bit of a good perspective on where the other buildings sat. Mm-hmm. But yeah. But there was some other stuff that happened. I mean, my wife's family builds all of our equipment. It's all so it's Front Offer Design is her company, and her office is right in Glens Falls, and then her parent company is called Front Offer Tool, which her father started back 40 years ago, and they're a big stainless manufacturing, mainly for like the paper mill and hydro dam kind of industry. But her older brother now runs it. And he really started her branch of the company too, that she eventually took over. But he was in our facility one day, and we were friends from biking, all of us. Yep. And he was coming in to do a little repair on our mash tun, just needed something done. And stainless welding, especially sanitary welding, is a real talent and trade. And he brought an engineer and a welder, and he was kind of looking at our fermenters. And he was like, "Well, what does this go for?" And we were like, and we were actually looking for more fermenters, and
we encouraged him.
We did encourage him, and he kind of was getting kind of excited by the idea of doing it. And he was like, "We could definitely make one of those." And we're like, "All right, well, we need another 20-barrel fermenter." And he 15 weeks later, he dropped one off, and then we were like, "Okay, we want 5 more." And then we're like, "How about a new brew system? How about some bigger tanks?" And from there were, I think, Gary Brown called us like, "Hey, who's this local guy you're using?" And then it just kind of took off. Next thing you know, they're making canning lines, and they have customers throughout all of North America, which is how I met my wife. Is basically Paul brought his younger sister back to run the engineering design firm that designs everything, and then she sends it to his company to build it. And it's been a great relationship for a lot of reasons, but
really working out well.
It's really working out for us. But they were pinnacle in our fire too, because they were able to take a lot of our equipment, store it, clean it up, the stuff that was able to be salvageable. They took our pilot system, which theoretically was in the main part of the fire, but the garage door
kind of fell on it, and it survived the fire.
It protected it actually from which was crazy.
That's insane.
And it was bad. I mean, a lot of parts they had to repair, but the bulk of it was able. So they were able to turn that around in about 6 weeks. And when we opened the temporary tap room, that's what we used for the brew on.
Yeah. Wow. So
we partnered with 3 other bigger breweries, bigger than our temporary, but so Two Roads and Single Cut, which is and Torch and Crown, who are similar to our size. They were brewing our beer for distribution, because we didn't want to, although we did it to pull out of some states, we wanted to make sure that we kept a couple brands out there. And then everything you drank in our tap room was from us, and that was coming out of that fun little 3-barrel system.
Pilot system worked.
Yeah.
Went out of it. Yeah.
We did. Yeah, definitely got some use.
And this place has been open about a year now, this past June, right? Technically? Not open to the public.
The brewery
about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Yep.
So we started brewing operations here again.
Yep.
The tap room opened May 3rd. Yeah.
After, obviously, the fire happens in your temporary tap room, and then you start to get excited, all the work going into this place, ready to open. Of course, COVID happens, everything shuts down.
Yeah.
Good timing.
And you open basically 2 or 3 months after everything was basically ordered to shut down. I mean, what's it like going from all that planning to now you're ready to go, but the world kind of isn't?
Well, I mean, I think the word we keep using is resilience here. I mean, we really had to go back and say, okay, this is not what we expected, but we have to keep moving forward here. So what's plan B? What's plan C? What's plan D now? I mean, we just had to keep reinventing ourselves and stay relevant in our market, keep in touch with our customers, and it became a challenge. But luckily, we're people that apparently we can kind of meet those challenges. At least look at the opportunities that sometimes a problem creates, and how else can we look at this and how can we deal with this? So it was a good learning experience for us. It really, I think, pulled us together closer as a company, honestly, because the people we have a wonderful staff here, and they all had to wear a lot of different hats and try different projects and look at the world a little differently, and that's so a little different paradigm is what we were used to. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think, another thing that, our staff are in our community. I mean, they're everything, right? When you open a business, it's all about cash flow. You need to buy more hops, more tanks, more kegs, whatever. But very quickly it becomes about people. And, we assembled this wonderful team of people that have come and left wonderful careers to come, join this company.
It's a crazy idea.
It's a crazy idea. And then they bought into it, and they're just as much, a part of it. And, we're very protective of that too. So when the COVID was happening, public safety was very important to us. And we've always been a company that put people before profits. And although when we opened, it was a little disappointing that the world was like in the middle of a pandemic, but we've come this far. There's no reason to rush it at this point. And we want to do it. You only get one shot to make a first impression. And this team of people stuck with us from when the brewery burned until now. And we don't really, we don't want to, certainly would never want to put anyone in harm's way. Although we were also in a business that was allowed to stay open for some reason. People need beer, so that's a real that allowed for us to keep everyone on. And
business. I did not
necessary business.
To think of the rides if that wasn't considered essential.
That's so true. But it was a reason for us to to kind of talk to everyone and say, hey, this to go model kind of works, and you guys are it's still kind of doing everything again, and it kind of allows for us to have a really limited interaction with potentially people who are coming from all over, because even when borders were closed between states, there were still a lot of people coming throughout the state that were coming to our facility, especially when there was a new beer coming out or something like that, and we just felt this might have been the safest thing that we would feel possible for our company. And we definitely would do take a lot of responsibility of the owners on making sure that we're providing the most safe work environment as possible.
So then, how exciting was it for you guys to finally open the doors to the public? And how's it been since?
Well, I had a baby basically the day we opened.
Oh, was it that?
It was pretty much like that. Yeah.
Congratulations, by the way.
Couldn't get any more exciting for Christian.
Yeah, it was.
So you already weren't going to sleep anyway.
Yeah, that was fine. That sleep was not happening, but so it was a very exciting time.
But having the pandemic and the to-go model really gave us some time to kind of button up our procedures, how we were going to do things, get staffing, all that, get the training done properly. We knew what kind of an experience we wanted to have when people arrived here, and honestly, under COVID, it wouldn't have been that experience. So when things opened up, we wanted to make sure we were ready to kind of open the doors and greet people the way we wanted to be greeted, and we wanted to greet them. So it was and the silver lining and all that was it gave us some time to kind of do things right, I think. And I think, the fact that we've had so many people come in and just love the food, love the beer and the atmosphere and the space that we created, it's been very, very reassuring. So.
Yeah, like I said, it's absolutely beautiful here. I love the rustic look of the bar. I'm a sucker for rustic type of
Oh, nice.
and everything.
That's it's a local company that we found through this process here of building this brewery is Trevitt Millworks. His father and his two sons, and They do a lot with repurposed wood and lumber, and like the bar down there is 100-year-old bird's eye maple.
Wow.
That they were kind of saving for a special project, and we wound up being that project. So it was very cool. And like your benches and stuff down there, recycled high school bleachers, and so it's, and again, a local company that's been part of our thing. We would rather spend $1 locally and help another business, and it just comes back to you in spades. So it's been really good.
So, I mean, what are some of your favorite highlights of your new facility then?
Of the new facility,
Yeah.
it is really nice to be brewing again, and although my role has definitely shifted to more on the business side, I definitely try to mash in as often as I can, especially if there's a brewer taking a vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Keith, our operations director, and I will kind of take turns going down just to kind of keep our chops, because we're still on the recipe development. But this new system is phenomenal. We don't even green out anymore. Like you hit a button and it goes outside automatically to a dump truck. Yeah, they're very. They would have saw the first system, and now you look at it, everything's touchscreen. You can run it from your freaking phone. But it's it is really cool, because so much of this industry, I think making beer, it's the best industry on the planet. It's, first of all, we love what we do from the product side, of course. Like we enjoy beer, and it's nice to be able to make it. But the sales, the marketing, and the manufacturing too. Manufacturing is fun, and it's always problem solving and building equipment. I mean, that was half when I was a home brewer, even working at breweries. I loved putting our making the homebrew system more efficient and trying to figure out how to add some like micro automation or something like that.
Yep.
And now you look at the playground you get to play in now. This year I would say things are really working really well. The canning line, everything's kind of fine tuned. We have a year under us now, and we've the brewers are really well trained, and everyone's kind of firing on all cylinders. So it feels really good that we're you're kind of sharpening the pencil now. We've had 2.5 years of having to make these big changes in our life in order to make ends meet and to kind of figure out what we're doing from our business. And now just to have these efficiencies in place and to be able to go back to all right, what do we want to do? Are we ready to open our new wild facility? Yeah, we should go buy a farm and do it proper. Yeah, we should. Oh, we want to make this new beer? Yeah, let's just go make this new beer now.
Nice.
It's nice to be able to go back to doing the kind of the fun parts again, and like I said, kind of making stuff more efficient and having some fun with making beer, and not as much kind of having these oh shit moments of we're dealing with insurance companies and there's everything else going on. But what about you?
Well, obviously the brewery is just phenomenal. It's just a beautiful facility. I mean, it's in our wildest dreams. Did we ever think we'd have a facility like this? I don't know. I mean, we pinch ourselves probably every day coming in, but having the tap room open, I think, has been really special. Seeing people come in and enjoy the space because we honestly put a lot of thought into it. And when people walk in, what are they going to see first? How are they going to be greeted? And all that really came into play. And to sit back now as a person who, we were meeting with the architects and engineers and everybody on a weekly basis and trying to put this plan on paper and what it's going to look like in reality. And now to see people actually enjoying it the way we thought they would it's pretty special. Honestly, it's a good thing. And so, and again, the staff we have, Rich Wilson, our director of retail operations, just done an outstanding job getting us to this position where we could open a tap room and make sure staffing was trained and everything. So it's been good to see everything kind of fall together.
Awesome.
So far, I'm knocking on wood. So, I mean, it's been a difficult labor market, honestly. As everybody's probably experiencing right now.
Yeah.
But we've been, in spite of that, we've been able to find some really quality people to come help us with this dream. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
So tell me about the foundation then, and how that came to be. That was mostly inspired. Was it mostly inspired by the response after the fire in the community?
Well, that was certainly it was a big push forward for us, but actually it was Christian's idea even before the fire, because we saw that our brewery had created this community, a little tap room and stuff was being used for people for various little fundraisers and a place where they could gather and talk about issues and ways to help the community and maybe inspired to do some new things. And so we began to look at that, and in any way we could help, we did. But again, those are pretty lean years back then. So we still, at some point, Christian said, we have a for-profit side, but we really should create this not-for-profit side. And I think that goes back to some of the not-for-profits that he worked for up there in Lake Placid, and that experience but bringing it back here and then doing something as an offset of our for-profit business. So after the fire and the reaction of not only our local community, but really the entire country almost, it felt like that at some point, the reaction and now what it meant to be on the receiving end of life, something like that. We really said, all right, we really have to play this forward now. And so, became a natural to kind of, and then we had this gorgeous logo that was created for us after the fire.
Is that the one with
the rising of the ashes, the phoenix?
The phoenix. Yeah, that was fantastic.
Yes, and it was a person who worked with one of our daughters works. My daughter, your sister, works was working with a graphic designer at the place she was working. Kind of helped us create that and gave it to us as another way to kind of help us come out of this crisis. But yeah, so we started the foundation, launched it here, and it's been, I think, really well received. And
it's been cool to have that infrastructure in place, and it just seemed like I think my dad said, like, it was something we always talked about, because we do think that, we definitely, I value corporate sustainability, like companies that have chosen to be charitable in their business daily operations. You think about companies like Patagonia and ones that have, like, you don't even almost see the difference between their for-profit and their non-profit. That's just part of their ethos. And I'm more apt to support a company that is more charitable and is giving back and has this this connection to community than I am one that doesn't. So although, on a small business scale, like us, I think it is important to be, charitable and to be, supporting the community that's supporting you, because, it is the rising tide floats all ships. So I think, I'm excited that we've been able to kind of put this infrastructure together and, kind of build on something. I think has nothing but potential. So, we launched it really this year. And we brought on a kind of a part-time executive director to help us run it. It's a board-run nonprofit 501c3. So my father and I are the founders and sit on the board with my wife and my mother, my dad's wife, and as well as a handful of other people who are community members and kind of friends of the brewery that bring various talents that are kind of the driving force of this foundation. So we've kind of developed these pillars that sort of represent things that were really the ethos of the brewery. Although they're separate, the foundation, the brewery, we integrate them as one, and it's just a continuation. So, yeah, it's been a lot of fun so far, and we're really excited to see what it can do. As much as we have a lot of growth potential, we're putting more tanks in for the brewery. We have another facility in the works where we're moving our whole wild program down there, and that's really exciting too. But the foundation has just an enormous amount of potential for stuff. We've been partnering with other organizations, and we've been a lot of our kind of other local business kind of friends and networks have been already kind of hopping on board as kind of legacy members. We built this membership now that's starting to grow, and we've started this kind of grant program and these micro grants and things that we've been able to support even from day one. So it's been really cool.
Yeah.
How can people interested get involved with that or help out?
Yeah, I mean, if you go to our website and certainly reach out to us, or just come on into the tap room. Especially on a Wednesday night. Wednesday nights are our foundation night. So it's during the summer, it's our gears and beers, and we have 60 to 80, 100 riders that come out for it. Every single Wednesday night. And then all the proceeds, or all the $1 for every draft that evening, goes to the foundation every night. And we've been kind of using it as like a membership drive as well. So
awesome.
It's a way for, if you want to become a member, and there's various levels, or even just a volunteer. We have like community gardens that we support, and there's some soon to be some trail networks that we're getting involved with, and some other aspects like that. There's nothing but involvement. And on any level too. So it doesn't have to be a big contribution. It can just be your time, because everyone's time is worth a lot. So
yeah. Awesome. So I've got kind of just a quick rapid fire questions just to wrap things up here.
Of course.
Because this has been great. But so is there a beer you guys have made that you're particularly proud of?
Yes.
One that stands out?
Yes, I would definitely say so. So I would say there's two beers, but I'm gonna answer this in two parts.
Okay.
Rooted.
Rapid fire out the window.
Rapid fire on a with like a 4-part answer. Yeah. So rooted is our 100% kind of like we would call it like a method lambic. Like American brewers really don't use the word lambic because it should be something sacred to Belgium. But the method of how lambics are made with 100% spontaneous inoculation and fermentation is a beer that like we get pretty excited about. So rooted, and it's a beer we have very old barrels of. So we're able to blend now, 2016 barrels with a 2019 barrel and start to come up with these wonderful blends. But if you were asked that exact same question and say, hey, if you had one common roots beer that you could never drink, you can only drink, no other beer, and you're on a desert island, but you have unlimited pallets of this one beer, what would it be? And I would say kind of like the little sister of Rooted is In Bloom. And it's a beer that's used our coolship as well, but it's fermented in one of the fooders that you saw downstairs, the biggest one. And we kind of run what's called a Solera method. So it never totally gets emptied for the most part. And we're always sometimes we'll pull some out and we'll pump some fresh wort in. And it's kind of our farmhouse beer, but it's a beer on like a hot day I could chug. It's also a beer for having a nice meal I could just really enjoy. And it's
Nice stem glass. Yeah.
It is. Yeah. What about you?
I would probably go a little bit more mainstream. We've been drinking a lot of New England style IPAs, and there's still, obviously the lager we had today that goes back to my roots personally. But what I've been really enjoying is one of our first beers is a West Coast IPA, Last Light, and I just love that beer again. I don't know why, but we had it on tap here, and it was as soon as they pulled up to the bar after my shift drink, the beer tender would bring me over Last Light. It was just like I just kind of knew that. So I think right now that's my beer.
Nice.
I missed it, and it's coming back again. I talked to Brent. He's brewing it today. So
Awesome.
Oh, good West Coast IPA is like, it's clear.
Yep.
It's got a little backbone. It's still got some nice citrus hops, but it's flavorful. I agree. That's definitely a good one.
So is there something you haven't brewed yet you guys really want to try?
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
If we tell him, we'll have to kill him.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think
we can do that one off the record.
Yeah, no,
and leave that as a mystery for anyone that listens.
I think there was a lot of we definitely we kept our entire brewing staff on, and we took our downtime very seriously. Mm-hmm. So there was a lot of hops research. We definitely are excited to bring out some new beer. We opened and we haven't been able to keep up demand. And like, unfortunately or fortunately, beers like Good Fortune, which is our biggest, kind of core brand IPA, which distributes quite a bit. And it's a great beer. About to get a rebrand.
My wife's favorite.
Oh,
yeah.
We've been every single tanks filled with that. So we're really excited for this fall that we're able to we have a lot of new beers that are going to be coming out.
Awesome.
Especially when we get some new tanks in place that gives us a little bit more capacity to kind of get Good Fortune out of some of those tanks and into some other stuff. So, but, I think like everything's open for us. I think there's more blends. There's more stuff. The barrels that are getting old and that are totally ready for blending and packaging, and there's plenty of new hops that are coming out to the market that we're getting from the Southern Hemisphere and Pacific Northwest that are we're pretty excited about. So
you guys got a lot of things cooking.
We do have a lot. Keeps us off the streets, so to speak.
Kind of on the opposite side of that, what's the worst beer you've ever brewed or tried to brew?
Yeah, it's a good one. We've definitely dumped.
There's a couple went south on us. Yeah.
I mean, there's definitely. it happens less and less now. We have a full-time lab tech that works with us. John Reed does an excellent job being our kind of quality control manager, and it's a rare occasion now that a fermenter gets dumped.
Yep.
But it has to happen because again, you get one shot to make a first impression. It's not worth putting in something that's not great out into the market. It's not perfect. So, but there have definitely been some swings and misses, especially on the pilot system, especially in the wild program too, of, barrels. There's no rhyme or reason. You can have the same cool ship batch. So it's all using the same wort, same night it was inoculated, just, with our local microflora outside. And, it goes into 4 different barrels, which is kind of the capacity of a single batch from the cool ship. And 3 of the barrels are awesome, and 1 is just like, poof, like just straight blue cheese.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, that's pretty gnarly. So I would say by volume, I shouldn't say by volume, by style, we've dumped a lot of wild beer. Of us figuring something out. We have a farm we love to work with right down the road where we'll go and pick some fresh currants and herbs and whatever and go back, and in our head it makes complete sense that this beer is going to be the best beer you've ever had, and it does not turn out that way, and that kind of sucks sometimes too. But I would say that I don't have a particular one. I definitely have beers that are...
Well, certainly beers that never made it to the public. I mean, there were some...
Definitely beers that don't make it to the public.
There were some beers we tasted, we were like, that's not going anywhere.
There's definitely been some even beta beers, too, where we were doing something... Beta's a series that's experimental IPA series. Mm-hmm. And it's not always just like, what hops and mainly what you're using.
Yeah.
A lot of times it was us trying a different way for mid-ferment dry hops or recirculating while we're mid-fermenting and whatever. And we would try even just methods of brewing something, shorter, different whirlpool temperatures, shorter boil times, whatever it is, different hops at different times, mid-ferment, whatever it is, and realizing that sometimes like, wow, that came out freaking terrible, and so I would say there's those ones too. Early days in the yeast when we propagate all of our own yeast and grow our own yeast on site. There are definitely earlier days when we weren't as buttoned up as we are now, where a yeast strain was too stressed out and just completely ruined a beer.
Wow.
And you get 3 days into fermentation, and you're like, holy cow!
Or we lost the glycol pump,
or you have some pump, some equipment malfunction, and something ferments at 90 degrees accidentally. Yeah.
Oh, geez. So when you guys aren't drinking one of your many owned beers, are there other places in the area or beers that you're particularly go after or impressed by what they're doing?
I mean, I think we have a really great craft beer scene in our area right now, and we certainly enjoy visiting with our friends in the brewing industry and trying what they're having and what they're coming out with. And it's just one of the benefits of being in this industry. You have all these colleagues that are doing cool stuff out there and going visiting their tap rooms and tasting their beer. So I think locally we have a really great beer scene here. I don't know if I'd want to one in particular, because
well, like I said, I haven't been to Glens Falls in years. What's more up this way? How far? I know Northway Brewing isn't that a little south, right?
They're just north of us. They're heading towards they're farther Route
north?
9. Yeah, there's a bunch of great ones. I would say we do. My dad hit on the head. There's a lot of great ones. I mean, Unified. They used to Erica used to work for us.
Oh, did she really?
Yeah. So we obviously did a lot.
Yeah, Unified comes up a lot. They're one of they're top notch.
Yep,
really good stuff, and great people too. So
and great people, and like I said, they were it's always nice because to see kind of a former employee of ours do as well as they have. So that's really great. But honestly, we've been so close to it's a very tight knit Capital Region brewing scene, and I think honestly everyone has a niche that they do very well, and we're really proud of that. I would say a brewery that I would really give a shout out to because I cherish them enormously is probably Plan B. The Watsons. Evan Watson is just a really wonderful person and makes some kind of very phenomenal beer, and they have a very cool kind of homestead operation too, where so much of it is just talk about being local and committing to a very specific style. But I think from from a brewing standpoint, New York State has such a diverse and amazing, really high caliber amount of breweries, and there is not we've been fortunate enough to get travel kind of all over, and there are certainly some states where you'd be like, oh yeah, we're in so and so, and these are the two breweries you really seek out when you're here.
Yeah.
And you can't really say that about New York because there are so many just wonderful breweries that are all making really high caliber, really great beer. And that's maybe kind of a really political answer, but that's really true though. We really do feel that way.
You're not wrong. I mean,
yeah.
I live down in Schenectady, and just between Schenectady and Albany, obviously I haven't gone all over the state. It's probably actually the farthest I've gone for the podcast. Like I said, it was an hour drive.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, but you just Albany and Schenectady area.
It's a very collegial industry, really. We really help each other out. Somebody needs some grain that they're short of, or there's a lot of that going on behind the scenes where you just help each other out, and that's good.
Yeah. So I think that's going to do it, fellas. I think that was another edition of the podcast right there.
Nice.
So a big thank you, Bert and Christian, for hanging out. I appreciate you guys having some drinks, telling me about the breweries and the beers. It's been fun.
Chris, really pleasure having you here, and thanks for coming up.
Making a trip up north of the big city up
Yeah,
here.
this is the Great White North for me.
Yeah, it is. Really,
It is. Well, it's not winter, so I can't say it's the Great White North. It's just the Great North at the moment.
That's it.
So everyone be sure to check out Common Roots and their social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, to keep tabs on everything going on. Don't forget about checking out commonrootsbrewing.com. And for information on the foundation, you can find that there as well. Anything else you guys want to throw in?
That's it. Yeah, appreciate it, bud.
Cheers.
And a huge thank you, everyone out there, for checking out the show. You can, of course, follow Stories from a Bar on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at StoriesFAB to keep up with everything. Be sure to also be sure to check out Popcorn and Pints, where I just drink with friends and talk shit about movies. That's usually live streams on Saturday nights around 9, so that's fun. You'll find Stories from a Bar on all the major podcast platforms. Did I say Apple? I meant Apple.
That's good.
Yeah. Apple, Google, Podbeam, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeart, YouTube, and however many more out there. There's a lot. So be sure to like and subscribe, and even more importantly, share a fantastic review. I'd greatly appreciate it. So until next time, cheers.